Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so excited to have you here for today's session on how to craft a job-winning UX case study. I'm Fanny, and I'll be your MC today. We have an amazing event planned for you with great tips and practical advice. But before we dive in, I would like to get to know you guys, and I would like to get to know each other. So please drop a message in the chat and tell us where you're joining from and what area of UX you work in. I would love to hear from you guys. Okay, while your messages arrive, let me tell you about the two organizations that bring you this session. This event is hosted by Path Unbound and UXfolio, two teams both passionate about helping you turn your UX career dreams into reality. And today, we're here to help you build a case study that stands out to recruiters. We have two fantastic speakers with us today, Stella Guan and Réka Nagy. Stella, would you introduce yourself and Path Unbound in a few words?
Of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Stella Guan. I am the founder and CEO of Path Unbound, which is a UI/UX design school. We specialize in portfolio coaching and also a full-scale design course that helps anyone who wants to join the design industry make that happen in 6 to 8 months. And if you're someone who already has design knowledge, we help you completely revamp your design portfolio to stand out from the crowd in 2 to 3 months. And I'm personally a designer myself. Right now, I am a location independent entrepreneur. I'm traveling the world, and I'm currently actually joining from Colombia. So nice to meet you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Stella. Now I would like to ask Réka to introduce herself and UXfolio in a few words.
Of course. So first of all, thank you all for joining today. It's great to see so many designers here eager to level up their case studies. I'm Réka. I'm a product designer and portfolio expert at UXfolio, which is a portfolio builder tailored for UX professionals. And my role at UXfolio goes beyond product design. I also help designers build successful portfolios and advance in their careers. And over the past 2 years, I've had the opportunity to review hundreds of UX portfolios and case studies. At UXfolio, we also constantly research portfolio trends, analyze case studies, and collaborate with recruiters and hiring managers. And through all this, we've gained valuable insights into what makes portfolios stand out. So I'm super excited to share these insights with you today and help you craft job-winning case studies. And before handing it back to Fanny, I'd also like to say a few words about UXfolio for those who aren't familiar with it. So it's a no-code portfolio builder tool with a mission to help designers build career-defining portfolios. And what's unique about UXfolio is that it's tailored for UX professionals, offering UX-specific features like case study generator, built-in device mockups, thumbnail designer, embedding Figma prototypes, and a lot more. So with UXfolio, you can focus on the content without having to worry about the building part. And that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Réka. Sorry, guys, the chat was disabled, but now you can let us know where you're joining from and what area of UX design you're working in or what you're interested in. Yes. We also have Ákos with us today, who is our product lead at UXfolio. He'll be answering your questions in the Q&A, and yeah, he'll be with us throughout the event to chat with you guys. I can already see a lot of chat replies coming in. It's amazing to see how many people we have today, and also seeing that you guys are joining from all over the world. It's super great to have you guys all here. Nice. Before we dive in, I have a couple of housekeeping items for you all. First of all, let me tell you what's coming up in the next hour. We'll start with a presentation where we'll break down the must-have elements of strong case studies, and we'll also talk about how to bring them to life through storytelling. Then we'll turn the theoretical knowledge into practice. Our speakers will go through some case studies and give expert reviews on them. So if you would like your case study to be reviewed live, then drop the link in the chat and we'll choose a couple randomly. I can't wait to see you guys' case studies. And at the end, we'll also have some time to answer your questions. So please drop them in the Q&A section of Zoom, and we'll get back to them and answer as many as we possibly can. Just an FYI, the session is being recorded, so if you miss anything or you would like to revisit it, then it will be sent to you in the following days. And with that, let's dive in. I'll hand it over to Réka and Stella to kick off the presentation.
Yeah, sure. Let me share my screen and we can jump in. So, case studies are the heart of every UX portfolio, yet many designers struggle to transform their great projects into compelling case studies. Have you ever felt stuck or overwhelmed trying to translate everything you did during a project into a well-structured and impactful case study? Well, you're not alone. I've been there too. But what if you saw case studies differently? Instead of an obstacle standing between you and your next job, think of them as your secret weapon that helps you showcase your skills, your problem-solving abilities, and expertise in a way that convinces recruiters and hiring managers. And in this presentation, we'll show you how to do just that so you can craft your next case study with confidence. Let's dive in. Here's what we'll cover today. First, I'll show you the magic formula for a job-winning case study. I'll break down the essential elements that recruiters and hiring managers expect to find in a case study. Then Stella will dive into the art of storytelling, the secret ingredient that transforms a case study from good to unforgettable. And let's get started with the magic formula. So the first essential element of a case study is the hero section. This is what recruiters and hiring managers first see in your case study, so it is crucial for a good first impression. And a strong case study hero consists of an engaging title. Your title should be clear, concise, and highlight the focus of the project. But Stella will share more on how to craft truly impactful titles in the second part of this presentation. Then, an informative subtitle. This can be slightly longer than the title and should highlight the project's impact and any relevant details to provide immediate context about the project, and a visual teaser of the final design. But you don't have to show everything here. Select the most relevant or eye-catching screens to spark interest and encourage viewers to dive deeper. And let me show you some examples built in UXfolio. So in these examples, you can see all the three elements I mentioned earlier, but using different layouts. And with that, let's move on to the next essential element, which is the overview. This is where you set the scene and help your audience understand the bigger picture. And the goal of this section is to explain why the project matters and spark curiosity about the solution. An informative overview should cover the context and the background of the project. Was this a redesign project, a feature for an existing product, or a concept project? Also, provide all the necessary information about the product or the company that you designed for. Then the key details, outline your role and contribution, the team structure, and the project timeline. And a clear problem statement. Define the user pain points or business needs that you set out to solve. Clearly articulating the problem makes the case study more engaging and purposeful. And finally, the solution. Yes, you should tease the solution upfront. Giving your audience a glimpse of the final solution sparks interest and encourages them to read on to see how you arrived at it. And including a visual teaser here is also a nice touch. And you can see two overview sections built in UXfolio here. And what I really love about the first example here is that it actually has a before-after comparison. So it really grabs the attention of viewers from the get-go. And let's move on to the next essential element, which is the process. But this part shouldn't be a step-by-step report of everything you did during the project. Instead, focus on what truly matters, the key insights, decisions, and challenges that shaped your design. And to craft an engaging process, you should highlight the key stages, but you don't have to follow an ideal textbook process like the double diamond everybody is talking about. Instead, show the real, sometimes messy process. Maybe you had to go back to designing after the developer handoff because of a technical constraint. Show how you adapted to it. Then showcase your thinking throughout your process. Explain the reasons behind your decisions and show how one stage led to the other. Also, include challenges and iterations. Hiring people value adaptability. So if you faced any constraints or iterated based on feedback, share how you navigated those. And use supporting visuals throughout. Include sketches, wireframes, usability test insights, or iterations to support your narrative and make your case study more engaging. And I'll show you 2 examples of process sections built in UXfolio. So in the first one, you can see a visual process bar, which makes the case study easier to navigate, and the consistent headings also provide a clear structure. I will scroll a bit so you can see that. And then in the other example, you can see how the descriptive headings and the supporting visuals help with scannability. So the hiring people can just scroll through and get a glimpse of the project. And with that, let's move on to the next part, which is the final design. So here, it's important to explain your final design choices, briefly highlight why you landed on the solution and how it addresses the problem that you presented in the beginning. Also, showcase the designs using high-quality visuals. You can use galleries or images with annotations or before-after comparisons in case of redesign projects. And if possible, include interactive prototypes to give a hands-on feel of your solution, or use video walkthroughs or GIFs, as these can bring your designs to life, making it easier for recruiters and hiring managers to understand the flaws and see the interactions. And let's see 2 examples of that. In the first one, you can see an image with annotations explaining the design decisions. And in the second one, you can see an embedded prototype followed by a gallery. So it is a combination of both approaches. And with that, let's move on to the impact. The impact section is what truly makes your case study convincing for recruiters and hiring managers. And many designers forget about this part, but it is an amazing opportunity to demonstrate the value of your work beyond the shiny designs. In this section, highlight how your solution solved a problem, improved user experience, or contributed to business goals. In order to do that, share measurable outcomes such as product or business metrics like increased conversion rate, reduced drop-off rate, or improved user satisfaction. If metrics aren't available, include feedback from stakeholders, clients, or team members that highlights the success of your work. If you conducted usability testing, you can add user quotes to showcase how your designs solved user problems or improved their experience. And here you can see 2 examples. In the first example, there is a screenshot of the App Store reviews, which is a great way to demonstrate improved user experience. And in the second example, you can see some metrics. And after that, another great strategy, a contact section. So after convincing hiring managers with the case study, you also offer them a way to reach out. And finally, show your audience that you can reflect on your work and that you are committed to continuous growth as a designer. This section isn't just about wrapping up your case study. It's an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to learn, adapt, and improve. And to make this section impactful, focus on 3 key areas: learnings and takeaways. There's something to learn from every project. This can be a soft skill, a new tool, a new method, or a different way of cooperation. Try to think of things that were new to you in this project and share them with your readers. Then, what would you do differently? Not every project goes perfectly, and that's okay. Reflect on what you would change or improve if you could do it again. And the next steps. If you had more time or resources, how would you take the project further? Would you conduct more usability testing, refine the UI, or add additional features? Showing that you can think beyond just finishing a project reinforces your commitment to continuous improvement. And now let's quickly recap the case study magic formula. So we started with the hero section, where you grab attention with an engaging title, an informative subtitle, and a visual teaser of the final design. The next is the overview, where you set the stage by explaining the project's background and context, your role, the problem, and the solution. Then comes the process, the heart of the case study. But instead of listing every step, focus on the key stages supported by visuals. After that, we have the final design, where you showcase the final screens. Here, it's important to use high-quality visuals, and you can also embed interactive prototypes or use video walkthroughs to make this more engaging. But a case study isn't complete without impact. So demonstrate the value of your work with metrics, stakeholder feedback, or quotes from usability tests. And finally, don't forget the reflection. Share key learnings, what you would do differently, and possible next steps. And with the key elements in place, the next step is bringing your case study to life through storytelling. And to show you exactly how to do that, I'll hand it over to Stella. Take it away, Stella.
Thank you so much, Réka, for that wonderful presentation. Love it. So right now, I'm going to share my screen and tell you a little bit more about the, I would say, magic formulas of storytelling, which is another key element of how to create a successful case study. So I believe you're now seeing my screen, right? Yes. All right. Awesome. So the first thing that is presented to people, besides the hero image of the case study, actually, a lot of people didn't realize is the thumbnail. Because if someone lands on our portfolio, they are going to land on our homepage, right? Unless you're sharing them with the specific case study. So you have to make sure that they even want to click into your case study. And this step has been not talked about a lot with a lot of people, because it seems very simple. It seems like you could just screen cap one of your screens and put it there as your thumbnail, but that's not the case. So we have to make sure that we, one, have amazing visual design skills, amazing layout skills that enables us to design this very thumbnail image. That's number one. And the whole process of storytelling, actually, I want to share this with everyone, is understanding human psychology. Because we live in a day and age where there is an overconsumption of content. There is content everywhere, coming from everywhere, trying to catch our attention. And it is not an exception for UX case studies, right? Because recruiters and hiring managers, they are bombarded with information as well, because they review thousands of case studies all the time. So how do you catch their attention? The first step is to design a very beautiful and engaging thumbnail. So some of the key elements of the thumbnail is showcase the key screens, right? Because if you have a project, you definitely have a lot of screens if you're designing digital products. You're not going to show some of the most common screens. You're going to show screens that are most interesting, that are most standout, right? And you definitely need to ensure that you have a mock-up template that either you create yourself or you download it somewhere that is beautiful. Like the examples that we show on the screen, it's a pretty good example, but sometimes people even add some creative flair to their thumbnail. For example, in this instance, the designer added a little bit of a gradient in the background to make it more engaging. But the rule of thumb is to make it very clean, not overly cluttered, because I've seen a lot of mock-up templates with a lot of environments in it. For example, a desk, a hand with too many plans in the background. This may not be the best thumbnail. Anything that has less distraction is preferred. So that's magic ingredient number one for storytelling, is to capture their attention with a visual first so that they click into your case study. Now, the second element is the actual written word. Now that you have a captivating visual, you have to capture their attention in the next step with a captivating title. What do I mean by that? So the vast majority of the case studies that I've reviewed, and from my 10 plus years of experience working as a designer, most of the titles, I don't even care, because it's either a very boring title of the name of the company that they designed for, right? Or it's an oversimplified phrase that isn't descriptive. For example, if you designed an app for, let's say, a psychotherapist, right? Instead of saying app for psychotherapists, you would have to say something that makes people care, that makes people want to read more. For example, you could rephrase that to say, I design an app that helps psychotherapists skyrocket their bookings, right? So that's way more interesting than app for psychotherapists. That's just one of the many examples that I could list here, and many of you could think about how you phrase your title. And one of the things that I really enjoy telling people about is think like a journalist. So if you're a journalist, you have a job to to capture people's attention so that they click in the article and they keep scrolling and they see the ads, and then your employer makes money, right? So if you're a journalist, this is how you have to think. And it's no different for a designer. As a designer, especially a UI UX designer, this is a hybrid role. You're not just a designer, you also have to have hybrid skills like storytelling, like presentation, like business acumen, right? So for example, here I listed a few examples. This example I actually love. It's from one of Path Unbound students. And Gabriella is the designer. She said, the App Store doesn't lie. Now, that's very interesting because, wait, I want to find out what is that about, right? So it's very intriguing. Instead of, okay, app design, blah, 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 nobody cares, right? So this is one of the ways that we actually really have to pay attention to how we craft the title. The key element is, again, understanding human psychology. What is attention grabbing? What intrigues us? I encourage everyone to study newspaper articles, to study, magazine articles, to see how they craft their titles, why you want to click, especially articles that capture your attention. You might want to make some notes and also learn how people cut together a movie trailer. That's also another very easy trick. How did they capture your attention? They don't give away everything, but they pick one point that make you curious. And the same thing can be applied to case study titles. All right, the next ingredient is a stunning hero image, which Réka actually touched upon a little bit, but I want to elaborate on it a little bit further. So the hero section needs to be very, very clean. It also needs to have a visual image that is a little bit different from the rest of your case study page, right? So this hero section actually requires you to put more effort to create a composition visually to make sure that you kind of decorate this section in a way that makes it look almost like an ad. So if you don't have a visual design background, you definitely need to put effort into it. But if you do, I would encourage everyone to study ads that you see on the streets, because there are a lot of really amazing advertising that has been produced by top creative agencies that have amazing visuals that are very, very simple, but they have very intriguing compositions that captures your attention. So I encourage everyone to do this exercise on a daily basis to improve your case study hero image visuals. Now, another key elements for storytelling is, Réka also mentioned it before, is lead with the results. Because I've seen too many case studies that starts chronologically in terms of their storytelling, right? They start with, okay, I did 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Again, studying human psychology, we do not have the patience for that. We want to be intrigued first so that we can decide if we want to devote more of our attention to hear more about it. So a good example is if you have done a redesign, present the before and after screen, right? Side by side to see, to present the huge difference that you made as a designer. And if it's a brand new design, you also can do that. It doesn't need to have a before and after screen. What you need to do is to present the final result without giving everything away. Be brief in your description, but be intentional as well, and kind of tease a little bit about what you accomplished without giving it away. So lead with result and tease important elements in the result without giving everything away is the key ingredient of storytelling in this stuff. Next, we have to think about our storytelling really like a movie trailer, okay? And one of the biggest, I would say mistakes of almost 90% of case studies that I've seen before, and Réka has mentioned also, is so many entry-level aspiring designers craft their case studies as if it's a UX textbook, right? So everybody start with the same double diamond method. That is fine, but you can actually redo that in a very simple but clever way. Instead of listing the name of the process, list what you learn from the process. What's the most important element of this process? For example, in this example, it says ideating solutions to solve pain points in generating process flow. That's already a bit more detailed, right? Although personally, I think it could be even more. You need to summarize what is the main key takeaway of this process so that people keep engaging with your case studies instead of, okay, wow, I have to read another textbook, right? It is, again, keeping in mind human psychology. We get bored easily. So don't do the UX textbook routine. And you have to support your paragraphs with visuals. Another mistakes that I see a lot is a lot of designers put a lot of text in between, and they only put visuals somewhere towards the end or in the beginning. Of course, you have to have visuals towards the end and in the beginning, but if you have a huge chunk of text without breaking it up with visuals, then your storytelling again failed, because again, our attention span is very, very low. Now, the next ingredient is numbers speak louder than words. And all of us know that numbers are very powerful, especially if you actually work on a client project with verifiable outcomes. It is time to brag about it. And in terms of the visual design, you don't want to bury it in little written words, right? In the paragraphs, you want to pull them out, like the one that I am showcasing here. You have to design it kind of like I would say an infographics, right? Be creative about it and make sure that you pull out important results with not only numbers and but also some keywords. Highlight them, bold them, but not do too much. Just bold a few keywords to make sure that it's easily scannable by people who are just scanning your case studies. Now, another segue to that is there are a lot of people who might struggle with this is because some projects you've done doesn't really have these outcomes that you can quote or you have verifiable source to. So how do you do that? Now, you may not have these numbers, but it's still very much doable. You can highlight the key outcomes in big letters. Now, it's time to use your typography styling skills, right? So if you highlight at least one or two key outcomes in big words, in big letters, make sure that your typography styling is on point, then it serves the same purpose as numbers, even if you don't have numbers. And finally, I can't emphasize this enough. After you're done with your case studies, make sure you go back and cut it down, because most people, again, have this problem. The case study is way too long because you're very passionate about it. You want to show every side of the story, but we don't have time. Nobody has time to read the whole story. So again, it's more natural for us to elaborate the whole process and go back and cut it down to make sure that you keep the journalist hat on and step away from it and actually tell the story to someone who doesn't know anything about design, right? Like your family members. See if they get bored in the process. You want to tell them the story as if, you know, you're telling an exciting encounter that you've had during on that day, to see if you can capture their attention. This is actually a very useful tool, because people who don't know design or don't work in design, they could not care less, right? What they care is there something interesting I should care about? So that is the last recommendation I have in terms of storytelling. Create your case study, go back, cut it down, make sure that you only show the most impactful and most interesting part of the story. And that is all for my part of the presentation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Stella and Réka, for this very insightful presentation. I really, really enjoyed it. Now I would like to put this theory into practice. So let's go to the case study review part of the session. I will. I have looked through some of the case studies. Thank you so much for sending them. We won't have time to go through all of them, unfortunately. However, we would love to go through a few, and I'll send it to Stella in a second. The first portfolio is by Connor McGaffin. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And I've sent it to Stella just now.
Thank you. I'm loading up the case study, the website, and I will share my screen in just a moment.
All good, all good.
Okay, so I think I'm sharing my screen now, right?
Yes, we're seeing them.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your portfolio. And well, it's a pleasure to review your case study. So I've never seen it, so I'm just going to walk through my well, and tell you my first impressions. And Réka will also join in. So this is a very dynamic process. We'll just chime in as if we're just having a fireside chat. Okay, awesome. So this is an app design. Very nice. I can see that there is a thumbnail mock-up here in the hero section and big typography that describes what this project is. So I would say the main structure is good. Although I would probably want to see a little bit more of this mock-up because it is very tempting, but I want to see a little bit more, right? You're just showing half of it. So I think maybe you could work on a little bit more next time to create a slightly different thumbnail that shows a little bit more, make it a little bit more exciting. And in terms of the storytelling technique that I just mentioned, I think this is a good opportunity to revamp your title as well. Although it is very interesting to see that you are designing, you did design an app. What about it? All right. So I'd like to see it first in the top level title instead of the second level, because I know you did mention this is a tool to bring certainty to your home renovation. Oh, that's great because a lot of homeowners are very stressed about this. So I'm already intrigued, but if I'm in a rush, I may not read this line because it's a bit too small. So you might want to actually convey this message right here in your level 1 heading. So that would be my take. So then I see that you describe your role, you describe your team. That's all good. Now, this is great. This home remodels are daunting. Great, because you capture this common pain point that a lot of people are experiencing. So I love this. I already love this storytelling, this title. And then you said Pluto's demystifies your next project. Okay, I am intrigued. So good job on both of these titles, and good job on not being too wordy in your description here. I think this is the perfect amount of text. And then now we're presented with this actually this video preview of the final product. I imagine that's very cool. Actually, I love it. Although I think it may be slightly just a tiny bit overwhelming because you have 3 screens. I would prefer to have maybe 2 screens. That's just me. So maybe Réka can chime in to see if you feel the same way. But the more screens that you have that are moving together on the same line, the more it is a little bit overwhelming because people have to process this information all together. So if you have a moving image, I encourage you to present it a little bit slower, not all together. So that's my my take on it. And I love this section. Design your space, know the facts, plan the future. Lovely. This is almost like a landing page for this product. Very clean, very simple. So love that. And then you presented your user flow. We don't have time to go into it in depth, but this is very creative, actually, very cute. So very nice diagram. I love that. So then now we can see that you presented your process. Okay, very clean as well. So I think you did a pretty good job by actually pulling out some quotes here, because that's always interesting to read quotes in big letters. And also you did this classic zigzag layout that is very effective in reducing mental load, cognitive load. So I love your presentation here. And then you did user testing, prototyping. I think everything looks pretty decent here. This screen flow map, it is a bit small, I would say, because it's a huge map. that maybe you could actually link outside to, let's say, your Figma file if someone is interested in reading it, because there's no way somebody can actually process this information here. But it's always good to have, right, if they want to dive deeper. And I love your summary here with block of text that's label 1, 2, and 3. And then you have a little bit of a reflection as well. So I would say well done. But perhaps you could put it in bullet points to make it easier to read. So that's my take. And I'll hand it over to Réka to, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, sure. So I agree with everything that Stella said. And my first impression of this case study was that it is really clean, but the title could be improved to be more specific, because we don't know what you did exactly in this project. So you only introduced the product itself in the hero section of this case study. And what I miss from this overview part is the context. So was this a concept project? Was this a client project? Was this a redesign or anything? So any information regarding that would be super useful for recruiters and hiring managers. Here it's a great idea to add GIFs or videos, because these make your case study more dynamic and engaging, but maybe not 3 at the same time, and maybe not without context. So I would need a bit of context for each of these screens to know exactly what flow are you presenting in each of them. So maybe you could do one screen with the GIF or a short video, and next to it some context. Yes, but I love that the visual language of this case study is consistent. So you designed each visual very, very nicely, so it reflects good UI skills for sure. I like that you used the visual process section so that we know exactly what you're going to tell us in the process part of your case study and what to expect. I like that you kept your paragraphs concise and that you are using consistent headings throughout, so your case study is easy to scan. But I would stick to a consistent alignment, because I can see that some of the sections are aligned to the left and the images on the right, and in some parts it is the other way around. Maybe it would be more scannable if you sticked to a certain type of alignment throughout. These images could be, as Stella said, bigger, so that we see the details better. So you could break down, for example, this flow into smaller chunks. And I love the next steps. It's always a great addition to every case study. So yeah, overall, pretty good job with these small adjustments. I think this will be a really strong one.
Thank you, Réka. I think we're ready for the next one, or?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Let's see. Which one is the next one?
I've
Check.
yeah. I'll send you again. There we go. Yeah, I love it. The chat is so active, you guys. I really,
Yes,
really enjoy
amazing.
reading.
I'm gonna load it up right now. It's from Walid. All right. Let's see. Okay, I am going to again share my screen. So just give me a minute. All right, so share. I believe I am sharing my screen. Awesome. So we're ready to look at Walid's design portfolio case study. So this one is a slightly different product, right? So this one is an interview module for seamless communication. That's very cool. So this one is I would say, a bit more granular, right? It's improving a function within a bigger product, which is very common. So I actually am pretty intrigued by this visual design that you have here. It's pretty fun that you did this extra little flair to spice it up. And it seems like you also have a pretty creative design for your thumbnail, which I love. Although I would encourage you to further explore it by highlighting some of the key areas on screen because depending on where people are looking at it, for example, I'm looking at it from a 13-inch MacBook screen, it's a little bit small. Although this is technically the product, right? So you could actually zoom into some of the key areas here to give people a better overview of your final visual. So that's just my smaller comment here. Very good. Now, you described it as integrating the interview module in Talentera, reduce communication gaps between recruiters and candidates. That's very good. I love this summary. Very effective. And then you also mentioned that in the bigger title as well. So I think that's actually done very well. Good job. Okay, so now you then presented us with the summary, I believe, of when you did it, how long it took. And then it seems like this is a overview of the currently existing product, right? So I would say this area reads a bit small. It's a lot of information altogether, so it's a bit hard to digest. I encourage you to rethink how you present the background of this product to make it easier for people to digest instead of presenting so much information all at first. Now, your text in general, I think in this page could be bigger, right? It's a good thing that you're being very concise, but the size is very small. So I think that's a web development and, issue that you could easily fix after. But good job on being concise. And then you have this section, which I think isn't too necessary because you're basically reiterating the classic UX process, which everybody already knows. Very cute, beautiful illustration, but I think it could probably be eliminated here and go straight to the problem, right? Oh, very nice. So you have these 3D icons, which are very delightful. I love them. Makes it engaging to read. So you have this problem definition here, which I love. Again, bigger text, easier to read, right? And then you presented these competitors, which this is a very creative visual. So I can see that you have this style of combining 2D and 3D elements. I love that. This definitely makes you stand out. And then you further elaborated the problem here, which is good. And then you created this double diamond diagram here. Again, it is not really necessary to present this because it could read more like a UX textbook. You could mention it, but it's not necessary to mention it too much, in my opinion. And then now we see that you presented this information that you obtained from your interviews, which I think it's pretty good. This is relatively easy to read. Although I would say, though, be mindful of your white space. In addition to making sure that your text is larger and readable, you also want to adjust your white space a little bit because this is a lot of white space, right? So white space is actually a skill that we need to master. Not too much, not too little, just the right amount. So I would say probably reduce it by half is what I can see could work out. Now, this is a lot of interview data here, which could be a little overwhelming, actually. I would encourage you to show only probably 3 to 4 of the most important screens here. And now you have double the amount, which could be reduced, right? And then now here we're seeing your, not quite, okay, so your flow here, which I think it's fine. Again, could be bigger. And then this section, I believe it's the brand guide all of a sudden, right? So I would encourage actually you create some titles in between because I feel like we're just seeing a bunch of your artifacts all thrown in together, which is okay for now, but you definitely need to make sure that you segment them by having a title because now I'm just being presented all of a sudden with the brand guide and I'm a little, unprepared for it. So that's the main problem. Okay, so then, yeah, you have pretty much similar stuff. Your case study, overall, I think it's very, very long. That's one of the problems. Although you did a really great job, I would highly encourage you to cut it down at least by half because nobody has time to read the entire thing, right? Now, so we scroll down to your results section. Okay, I love this design, which is a classic infographics type of design, which I highly encourage in my presentation as well. So I think you did a really good job here. Although now, as someone who is very cares a lot about accessibility, and then also I just kind of click into your website here, I'm not quite sure if this is all pictures. Okay, so this seems like it's all photos, JPEGs or PNGs. Now it may look good here, but if someone who is using a screen reader or any other scenarios, this could be a disaster to read, right? So I encourage you to actually use a portfolio builder that lets you create this type of elements without making it into a JPEG. That's very, very important. And finally, I think you might need sort of a summary section, right? I feel like, okay, I'm impressed, but wait a minute, I need a closing section. So that's my my main takeaway. Very good job, but a lot of work to do to cut it down, make it more concise, make it more readable. Réka, what about you?
Yeah, first of all, I love the progress bar on the top. Which indicates how further along you are in the case study. That's a super nice touch. But there are a few things that I would improve to make this case study even better. So first of all, for me, the hero section is a bit too much design-wise. So I would cut back on the decorative elements and let the work shine. And as Stella mentioned, you could actually highlight some UI elements from the final design a bit better because it is a little bit too small. And if we move a bit further down, this overview part is great, but I don't see what was the problem that you aim to solve. I have to scroll down a lot in order to get to the problem statement, which is, by the way, well designed, but I would love to see it a bit earlier so that I am more intrigued to find out how you then solve those problems. For the competitor analysis, while I love that visual, I think something more informative would make this even better. So you could include a little chart of what features you compared in these competitors to make this more informative. And also there are a lot of visuals throughout the case study which lack context. And regarding this part, I would highlight the key insights from the surveys because recruiters and hiring managers don't have the time to go through all these screenshots from your survey results. So I would just highlight the key insights from that and then refer back to them, for example, when you present the solution at the end. So that would be a great way to tie it all together. And what Stella mentioned regarding using images towards the end, we see a lot of images. They also cause issues with the responsiveness of the case study. So on mobile, these images would look really small. Yeah, and I also missed some sort of a summary at the end and presenting your final design and how it addresses the initial problems.
Amazing. Thank you guys for going through these two portfolios. We'll have time for one more. However, before we do, I would love to plug our offers in at this point because Path Unbound and UXfolio both prepared with exclusive offers just for our attendees here. So I would love it if Stella, you could share your screen and look at the offers.
Yes.
And then we'll have time to look through one more portfolio and then answer your questions.
Yes, just give me a minute. All right, so everyone, for those of you who are really serious about taking your portfolio to the next level, which is the most important thing in your job search and your career because you're selling this product, right? We have an exclusive offer for all attendees of this event. You will get automatically 10% off of any portfolio school program signups And don't worry, you don't have to note anything down right now, because we will send a recap email to you after this event, which you get access to the discount codes. And if you also purchase a UXfolio membership to start your portfolio website, because of our lovely collaboration, we offer 5% more. So then you get 15% off of your portfolio school program. So that's a really good deal if you do both. And of course, in return, UXfolio also has a discount code that they will announce after me. Now, if you're someone who is still learning, you're not in the portfolio process yet, our School of Design program is right for you, because you can learn from the beginning. Or even if you're someone who's halfway through the process, we actually have a very flexible course package that we could help you figure out which part you need to learn, which part you don't need to learn, and then create a custom learning plan for you. So we offer $300 US dollars off for this program if you join this event. And if you also purchase a UXfolio membership, we offer $350 US dollars off, which is a very generous offer. And then also the last offer that we have is very exciting, because starting from March, we will actually be hosting regular portfolio events that is kind of like a game show. That's very exciting. We call it Roast Your Portfolio. Don't worry, we're not going to roast anything technically, but it's a very engaging event that we will host online and in person around the world to help everybody who wants to become a designer grow tremendously during this process, right? So in the event, we actually have a really unique way of helping everybody by making feedback anonymous from your peer, so that nobody has any fear of giving their honest feedback, right? You will also hear from our instructor guest reviewers and recruiter guest viewers who are experts in the industry to add on to the review, which you could take home and then work on it. And we also have exclusive partner offers as well. So the first event is March 12th, I believe. It's going to be online, so anyone, anywhere can join. And we offer an exclusive discount to the ticket price as well, 20% off. The regular price is $25 US dollars, but if you attend this event, it's $18 US dollars. So that's all from me. I know it's really quick, but you can review everything in the recap email. And now I'll hand it off to UXfolio.
Yes, we also have an exclusive offer for you today. So whether you're building your first portfolio or you want a refresh, then try UXfolio now, because you can get full access at a discounted price using the promo codes displayed here. And if you'd like to give it a try, simply sign up on uxfol.io. And when you're ready to upgrade, just redeem the code at the checkout to unlock your discount. So don't miss out and start building your standout UX portfolio today.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for these offers. And I'm sending Stella our last case study of this evening. So let's take a look at this one.
Great. I am just loading it up here, and I will share my screen again right now, I guess. Okay, so we're seeing my screen, right? Awesome. So this is the last case study review of today. It is a virtual wardrobe app design. Very exciting, and a different product. Okay, so first of all, I think this is very clean. You created this minimalistic background that actually matches your product brand color, which is actually a very common way to create this, look and feel of your case study, is to make it as if this, case study is part of the product marketing website, right? So I think that's a great thing that you did. However, the same problem exists here. The visual here, it's a bit too small. Although I'm intrigued, I'm not intrigued enough to keep reading a lot because it is too small. I can't really read it. So one easy fix is to make it bigger. And now you have this really big typography here for the project title, which is good. It's called Virtual Wardrobe. But what about it, right? It's the same problem. What about this virtual wardrobe that I need to care about, that I am going to be intrigued? So make sure that you rework this title. I know you have more context here, but people are more interested in the first level heading. Now, let's read it here. This lifestyle app will transform your wardrobe by organizing clothes, planning outfits, and simplifying your daily dressing routine with ease. Actually, that's very enticing, but I like to read it first in the first level heading. Okay, so now you have presented us with the overview of this app, which I think is very nice. However, it feels a bit, the layout slightly awkward here because you don't really have any visuals here, but you have a huge chunk of text just all in one. Now, I understand you broke it down into 3 columns here, which helps. But I would say here in the overview section, I would encourage you to limit the text to perhaps 1 to 2 very short paragraphs, not 3. And perhaps you could have some kind of a visual here to support it, to break down the amount of text. Now I'm seeing more text, which can be a bit challenging to digest, right? So it says generative research. Now, all of a sudden here, I am seeing this green text, which at first I thought it might be a pull-out quote, but it is not. So I understand you probably want to highlight this information, right? But it reads a little bit awkward in terms of the visual design because it technically has the same styling and weight and size as your second level heading here, but it reads like a paragraph. So now I'm not really sure where I should be paying attention to. So I would work on your layout skills here a little bit. Now, here you've presented your, I would say, the sticky notes about your research, right? This is the affinity map. Okay, so that's nice. Let's see, you have your bullet points here, which you also highlighted some of the keywords. I think that's a nice touch. I do recommend that. However, there is opportunity to take it a little further to summarize what kind of insights that you've gained from this exercise right here. Instead of saying organizing insights, tell us the insights right now, right? So that is an opportunity to you can take to revamp the whole thing, is to rework all of your second level headings. It does read a little bit heavy in text, although you highlighted keywords. But if you remember the 2 previous case studies that we reviewed, especially the first one, the designer did a really good job in making sure that the text is very simple. You could probably, borrow from that and then break it down a little bit more. Now, you actually, this feels like a JPEG, a screenshot of your interview questions, which is nice, but that's a lot and not always relevant because the people won't have time to read all of your questions. So I would just summarize it instead of pasting the entire screenshots here, right? Again, you paste it. This is a lot of real estate to take for some of the artifacts that you should keep in your own file. Okay, so I think the whole case study has a similar theme of it being slightly text heavy, right? So by reworking the text heavy aspect of it, it can already be tremendously improved. And don't put every artifact there, which I think, you did a really good job in really organizing everything to make sure that it reads nicely, but it is very heavy to read, right? And then I'm seeing your lo-fi wireframe, which is nicely done. Oh, it's even interactive that I can scroll through. That's actually a nice touch. I actually love this lighter part. So I would definitely keep it. This is actually very different from most of the wireframes that I've seen. Then we see the mid-fi wireframe, right? Then I wonder where the final, okay, this is the final, which is here. So in case studies, it is not really necessary to show all the steps that you take to reach to your final visual design. I would probably show a bit of the wireframe, the mid-fi, in my opinion, to reduce the length. You could probably eliminate it and then show the final here. Again, this is very, very cool that you could scroll in there. That's very, very nice. And then your final thoughts. Now, this is good that you pull out important, numbers, which I think it's done really well. But perhaps you could put just a tiny bit more styling in there to make them look more like a card. And the typography here needs to be improved a little bit because this italics could be a bit, old school looking, and it's a bit too big in terms of the hierarchy between the big letters and then the small text. So I would work on your typography skills a little bit. But overall, I think you did a really good job, especially delighting us with your final screenshots that are interactive, right? This is what makes you stand out. But the key thing that you can improve here is really the reducing the amount of text by half, and then making sure that your layout is on point, making sure that you use white space, and making sure that your the whole thing reads very cohesive, and reducing unnecessary artifacts. So that's my take. I'll hand it over to Réka if you have
Yes,
anything else.
thank you, Stella. Great points. And actually, I wanted to highlight that this case study was built in UXfolio, and you can use our built-in device mockups, which are actually scrollable to showcase your designs, and you can choose between different device styles, actually. So what we saw here were the browser styles, but we also have realistic device mockups, which you can easily add inside UXfolio. But let's get back to the beginning of this case study. So yeah, this is a common mistake that I see in case studies, is that designers often use the name of the product or what the product is about as the title and subtitle. But what you should include in the title is what you did. So a bit more context about your contribution in that project. So you could say redesigning the virtual wardrobe app in order to increase activation or something like that. So be more specific with your title. And moving on to the overview part here, it's great that you included the business need that you set out to solve, and then the solution and also your role. These are all critical information, but the layout is a bit off. So try to find a more balanced layout here. If we move on, I don't want to repeat what Stella just said. So yeah, same things with the images. They are a bit too detailed, and also it's important to support your sections with visuals, but be more intentional with using visuals. So don't just throw every artifact into your case study. And the research part of this case study is a bit long. So I would just focus on the key insights that actually shaped your designs. It also depends on your role. So if you're looking for a researcher role, maybe, then you can keep the research part, but then reduce the design part. But keeping both this extensive is a bit too much. And yes, I would love to see the final solution. I love that visual with the annotations. That is also a great way to show your design decisions. And yes, these interactive mockups are a great way to showcase your final designs. And can we see the final sections actually? Do we have learnings or next steps? Oh, we have the impact. That's great. But you could include your learnings and some proposed next steps for sure.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for going through these case studies. And also thank you for everybody who sent their case studies in the chat. I wish we would have time to go through all of them, but I also would like to leave a bit of time for questions. And we had quite a few. I'll go in order of upvotes, actually. Yeah, let's start with Kayla's question, which is, I've seen some people mention putting the impact and final designs near the start of the case study. Thoughts on this? Also, when creating case studies, which are not from real-world projects, so no metrics and so on, what should we be sure to show?
Yeah, so I can answer that first. I think this is actually a very common question, and for junior designers, very relevant, right? Because a lot of us have to start with spec projects first, which actually is a really great way to showcase your design skills. Now, you won't have actual metrics. You won't have any, real, quote unquote, real business impact. But what I would do is then I would emphasize my screenshots, my final screenshots first, right? You definitely have to make sure that that stands out. And then you have to still put together a conclusion, what you learned from this project, right? And also, you definitely have received feedback from someone. Provided that you work with a mentor, you work in a course like our course, what is the feedback, right, that you received? That is a good way to actually put it in place of the quote unquote real business impact. And if someone is, if a company is hiring a junior designer, if they're, someone who is experienced in hiring and open-minded, they understand that you're not going to have super impressive results at first, but they want to see how you think. They want to see if you're a good problem solver. So if you can show this, remember, you have to show them that you are a problem solver, that you can bring business results potentially, right? We do see the potential of people. So you need to remember to show that in the beginning, even though you might feel like it's less impressive. But if you manage to make sure that that storytelling works, you still have a very strong case. Réka, what about you?
Yeah, I would love to add that the overview part of your case study, just to answer the first part of the question, because it was that whether they should include the impact in the beginning of the case study. And so the overview part of your case study acts as a hook. This is your chance to hook your readers and to convince them to read on. So it is very important to offer a teaser of the outcome or the impact here. So if you have any great outcomes or numbers to share, yes, do include them in the beginning of your case study.
Oh, I think you're on mute.
I'm on mute, sorry. Thank you for answering this question. And we actually received a lot of questions about metrics, what metrics to show, what to do if you don't have metrics. We have gone into it a bit, but can you highlight exactly what to focus on when it's not a real life project, but a made-up project for a case study or a portfolio?
Yes, I can talk a little bit more about that. So if you're doing a spec project, right, it is the same thinking process, because whatever the spec project, whatever the problem is, you need to make sure that you are addressing your solutions in the end, right? Because even if it's a quote unquote made up project, it is pretty much the same as real life projects, but modified. And sometimes it is actually, for example, in our program, we do have some spec projects for students who want to work on them. It is actually real life projects that we took from real projects and just changed the details, right? So in that case, what you need to show is, how does your solution address the problem, right? How does it address the problem? Because that's what businesses care about. If they have a problem, can you use design to solve it? Even if it's a blue sky project within a controlled environment without that much complications from a real project, at least can you show me what is it that you did that directly addresses the problem with your design? I think if you can convince people about your ability to do that, then you have a very strong case. Like, hey, even though I'm a student, I am junior, I am doing this as a spec project, but look at that. It actually, solves the problem. And I actually received positive feedback from whoever that, mentor me on this project. So I think that is really the best way to showcase your ability. What do you think, Réka?
Yeah, so it's great to include quantitative results if you have them. But if you don't, so if you don't have access to any data, then there are other ways you can demonstrate the impact of your work. You can do this by sharing testimonials from clients or stakeholders to highlight the value of your work and the value that you brought to the table. Or if this was a concept project, then if you conducted usability tests, you can include quotes from those tests or results from those tests and highlight how your solution solves the user's problem and makes their experience better.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that question. The next question is about NDAs. How can I showcase alternative design versions under NDA restrictions? I can only share what has been published and is live to the public. What do you guys think?
Yeah, this is a very, very common question as well. And most designers who have worked at any number of companies have encountered this, myself included. I always encourage them to do this one thing. Instead of locking your portfolio, which is doable if you already have a few existing projects that are public, right? Because I've seen some designers, they have a mix of locked projects versus open projects. If you have a healthy mix of that, let's say, for example, you have 3 open projects and you have 3 locked projects, no problem, right? But if you only have locked projects, it works against you because people are not going to try too hard to put in a password, even if you supply it to them, unfortunately. So there is an alternative that I always advise our students is to create a version of the project that is completely it doesn't have any sensitive data. All right, you don't want to refer to any sensitive data. You don't even want to mention the name of the company, but you can describe what the company does. Now, if you do this, nobody can point their fingers at you and say, hey, you leaked our data, because you didn't leak anything, right? So you want to sort of provide a condensed version. You don't want to provide a full case study and actually make a disclaimer in the beginning that says this is a sort of a summary version of what I did, right? So you want to highlight your contribution, your ability, without mentioning any unnecessary industry secrets or anything else. So basically, you're creating this separate mock-up, separate everything. You have to spend that extra time. Otherwise, if you don't already have a few open projects, you are going to be at a disadvantage. I know it's very annoying, but it has worked for a lot of people, that if they showcase their ability in an alternative way, then it makes your portfolio a lot more readable, a lot more attractive. That's what I would do.
Yeah, this is definitely a tricky topic. I would like to add one thing. So similarly to what Stella mentioned, you can abstract your work. So instead of showing the details, you can actually blur out sensitive details and just outline the problem and your solution in generic terms. But another smart strategy when it comes to sensitive work is to protect it with passwords. Of course, it's not ideal to only have password protected case studies in your portfolio, but if you have 1 or 2, then that can work really well as well.
Amazing. And we have time for one last question. Anushka asked, so essentially, how long must our case studies be if it's displayed on a website? Like about 2-3 vertical scrolls, or shorter or longer? What's your guys' take on it?
Yeah, I love these questions. They're actually, again, this is a very common question as well. To tell you the truth, there is no answer for this, because if you ask anyone, right, how long should a movie be? Should it be 1.5 hours? Should it be 2 hours? It's as long as it takes to tell the story effectively. So that's why you need to actually treat this as a UX project yourself. You could start with a draft, right? And then you present your case study exactly as how it's laid out on screen to someone who is willing to sit down to listen to you. And you might want to ask them if they're okay to be recorded, because you can actually see if they're bored in between, right? So if you do this type of exercise, you then know where to cut down, where to keep, what section to keep. So if someone tells you exactly, they know exactly how long the case study, it should be, they're lying, because everybody is different. Every project is different, right? So we cannot answer that in terms of this, length or sections, but that's why we have to keep telling our story to other people to find out what is effective. So as long as it takes to tell the story effectively. Réka?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like conducting a usability test on your case study. But yeah, you should always ask for feedback and iterate based on the feedback. There is no right answer here because every project is unique. So every case study will be unique as well.
Thank you so much. It was such an insightful session. We're almost at the end of it, so it's time to wrap up. We heard a lot of good practical tips, and I really hope that everyone attending will take home practical tips that they can make in their portfolio, changes that they can make in their case studies. I would like to give a gigantic thank you to Stella and Réka for being here and sharing their expertise. And I would also like to thank everybody who joined us today. You guys asked amazing questions, and I'm very, very happy that you guys sent your case studies, so we could look at really, really nice case studies today. If you would like to dive deeper into the topic, then please check out Path Unbound's portfolio school and also the School of Design. You should join the Roast Your Portfolio events hosted by Path Unbound, and you should also give a try to UXfolio and build your case studies quickly and easily. Connect with the speakers we have here on LinkedIn, and you could also join our Discord server for more portfolio related content. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I look very much forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.